come on around. We'll give you a quick introduction. Have you guys ever played the game?
Yeah.
Some have, some haven't. All right. So from the top, the quick introduction is that this is a fairy tale storytelling card game. And so what's going to happen in the game, we're adults here, we're going to play it as a competitive game. Sometimes with kids you play it just as cooperative. That works out easy, especially when they're having trouble reading if they're younger and stuff like that. So each one of us is going to have an ending to a fairy tale story drawn from the endings deck. So here's one, for example. It says, "He was freed from his enchantment, and the next day they were married." So your objective, this is your secret ending, your objective is for the fairy tale story we all make up together to conclude with your ending. And you will play that as the conclusion of the story. But you can't play your ending until you've gotten rid of your entire hand of cards. You get rid of the hand of cards by using it in the game. Normally you would use it one person at a time as the storyteller. And when you are the storyteller, you are narrating the story. And any time that you introduce as an element in the story, a meaningful element, not just a throwaway thing, something that you have a card for, then you get to play that card down.
So here's the end. Horse, road, stepmother escaping, and a well. You see, once upon a time, there was a horse. And the horse was walking down the road.
And so the thing about this, right? Yeah, you have only one card per sentence. So I might, for example, if that was my hand, I might be trying to say that the horse was actually a brave knight who had been transformed by an evil witch into the form of a horse and was truly in love with the woman that rode him, even though she didn't know that he was really a human inside. And so I want them to get out there and switch the enchantment, etc. So one of the rules then that's important is the notion of interruption, because when I'm the storyteller and I'm trying to bring it to this ending, I need to bring into it the enchantment, the witch, the woman who's going to fall in love with the guy who's the horse, etc. There are other cards in the game for things like witches and spells and so forth. If I mention something that you have a card for in the course of telling my story, at any point you can just then drop that card down, again, a way to play it, and then you become the storyteller. So I'm interrupted, I have to draw a new card as a penalty. You'll continue the plot that I've begun, but using your cards, trying to bring it to your ending.
So if, for example, this is my hand, and John said that the girl tied the horse to a tree, I've got tree, I can lay that down and interrupt the
and you start down the...
Right.
Yep. There's one other big thing is the interrupt cards.
Right, there's also a wild card way to interrupt, which look like that.
Look like this here.
Yep.
There's different kinds of them. They're color-coded. So if someone lays a card that has that symbol on it, you can interrupt by using this card. Or you can use the word on it. It's two uses for this one card.
Right.
Okay, the one is this normal card.
So if you're the storyteller, you can play it as returned. He returned to the stables. If you're going to interrupt the storyteller, then you can interrupt any time that the last card played was as the same type of the interrupt.
What about the event in the previous card? Does this get replaced, or like something was about to break, but then actually it still happens. It still happens.
And if Michelle has played this card, she says the bridle on the horse broke, and she maybe is going along and talking about. She gets into some digression about the history of bridles or something. It doesn't matter as long as that was the last card played and is on the table. Interrupt any event can be played after it to interrupt.
Yep.
There are a couple of other things you can choose to pass. If you choose to pass, you may discard a card from your hand and replace it. Otherwise, if you're interrupted, you are forced to draw a new card as a penalty. There's basically a silliness rule, which is if somebody, if I say, and then the horse got up and started dancing because Elvis and the aliens were there. You guys would all say, like, yeah, that doesn't really follow this plot. You might call me as silly, and then play would just pass clockwise. Likewise, if you choose to pass, then play passes clockwise. What else? We streamlined the rules in the 3rd edition. Yes, but you can discard one if you pass voluntarily.
Yes, if you are interrupted, you have to draw a card. That's another big one, which I always forget, so help me remember.
Challenging the storyteller. Let's see. Getting stuck, contradicting the story, rambling, silliness, or an unimportant element. These are all things where you can challenge the storyteller You know, if I get into one of my digressions about examining fine finish joinery techniques with woodworking and the uses of different, at some point you all get bored and say too long, boring, whatever, and you, by consensus of the group, can tell me to shut the heck up.
Someone is obviously stuck if they're saying and they're doing that for too long.
Some people kind of house rule that, and they will say if you ever say that you lose.
We're not gonna do that.
Move on, but we're not going to do that. That's a little bit more harsh. It's just generally, you know, usually when a person is obviously stuck, they recognize it and they're going to do it. Also, we're being recorded for all of posterity. Keep that in mind when you say horrible, insulting things about various fair-skinned ethnic groups that live in kind host countries. I'm looking at you, Steve. No, I'm just kidding. That's about it. Third edition introduced a new method for deciding who goes first, which is we turn up a card, and we all have to decide who looks most like a person in the card. That looks like the back of your head, Michelle.
This is a cart being broken. That's kind of a hard one to resemble, I guess.
Yeah, it is. But there's somebody up there.
That's kind of how I feel.
got
also a
not
two-headed
enough
horse.
caffeine.
Yes,
Right.
and there's a two-headed horse.
Two-headed
Anybody
horse.
here have two heads?
Nah.
You've got a beard. That looks a lot like a second head.
It's starting to
I'm going to
split.
say you look the most like the horse.
Do you mind if I ask every participant to give a little introduction who they are?
That's crazy talk.
Yeah. Alright, so let's get crazy. Can you start?
I'm Annie, and I'm just working here. I haven't played much games here, so I'm just learning things and just enjoying myself.
Okay.
Excellent.
I'm Tommy, and I work as a logistic person in a year, but I also do the spare things that someone doesn't come in, they shift time and work there.
A troubleshooter.
Yeah, not the troubleshooter. I normally do that. But this is the first festival or the convention that I'm not the troubleshooter. So it's like a little bit like
adamant about
what
that
I do here.
Alright.
I'm Heikki. I'm a troubleshooter.
My name is Kasperi, or my nickname is Here Cake, and I organized the card gaming program at this convention.
Okay.
I'm Steve. I'm a guest.
Yeah.
With Bully Pulpit Games.
Yeah.
Michelle Nephew from Atlas Games.
John Nephew, also from Atlas Games.
I'm Jason from Bully Pulpit Games.
Alright.
Pretty fantastic gaming group.
All right. So,
Let's see about that.
you go first.
Okay, one question. Should I have an ending card?
You should. Do you not have an ending card?
I do not have an ending card.
All right.
Everyone should have an ending card.
Everyone should have one ending and
Brains.
yeah.
And,
Usually I start at demos, but
Okay. So,
Well, I was saying that looked like the back of your head, but you didn't jump on that. So
I got a good one to start with though.
yeah, you're just trying to take over this game again.
I'm trying to get my ending started from the good start.
Can I read the rules?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
okay.
So you start. Once upon a time.
Once upon a time, in a beautiful garden.
Ah. There was a crown buried under the ground and it was cursed. The cursed crown had sat there for 1,000 years and no one had found it yet. Although all kinds of people had tried, princes and princesses, kings and queens, witches and wizards had all tried to find the crown. And none of them had found it. Until one day, a wolf came along and, and started digging because it smelled like rotten ruin, it being cursed and all. He dug and dug and dug until, and this was underneath a tree, by the way. So under this tree, the wolf was digging and digging and digging until he dug up the crown and carried it in his mouth to the door of a cottage. And by the way, if you guys say anything that you have a card for, you should be interrupting. I'm pretty sure I just said about 30 different elements.
but
I guess I'm unclear on that. So if you you say a word that I have?
Yes.
I can
Yes, then you can interrupt.
Okay.
So, for example, when she mentioned a tree, if you have the tree card, no matter how. When you're playing a card that's supposed to be an element of the story that matters, it can be just a throwaway mention somewhere else. I once played this game with some university-age kids, and somebody brought Elvis into it, and somebody else played the king card to interrupt. So that's an example of and sometimes it's a little bit iffy on those types of things where the group sort of has to decide if it's a little bit more metaphorical or allegorical as to the meaning of a particular card.
The object of the interrupt does not come into the story. It's the next thing you put down, right?
Right. In the case when you're using it as a wild card, then that is just as an interrupt.
So if I had a card that said wolf on it,
Yes.
the second you said wolf, I could throw that down and then start my own
And then
thing.
it's your
and then
But I don't have to mention the wolf.
No.
The wolf is now in the
It's part
story
of the
because
story.
she mentioned
probably
it.
will
Yeah.
use it, but not necessarily.
Yeah. But you don't have to say anything more about the wolf. I mean, you're going to continue the same story, but going wherever.
So everybody was pretty concerned because
So
there's
in
this.
the interrupter, it has to be like something that is the same color.
Well,
No.
so it has to be the
If
same
you're
type.
using
So
an
this is
interrupt
a
card,
thing.
here
Yeah.
I interrupted here.
Yeah.
I interrupted with this because it's the same color. But if I said tree in my story and you have the tree card, it doesn't matter what color it is.
Yeah.
Do you have to use the interrupt card that has an interrupt?
If you're interrupting this card, you would have to have an interrupt with that color.
But if you had said food, and I have a food card,
Then
I
you
can
just
just
use
play
that.
that and then we keep
Yep.
playing. It doesn't have to have
Exactly. Yep.
Exactly.
I got the food card over
Okay, so all the people in the town were very concerned because of this wolf wandering around. They all figured that he was just looking for food. But
there. Food!
good job.
All
There you
right.
go. Then I take a card because I've been interrupted.
Of course, now I need
Do I
to
have to take a card because I have
Yes, you should have.
Okay.
Here you go.
We too often forget
Yeah,
that.
that's an easy one to forget.
This was a village, though, that was full of blind people.
All right, you should be restricting yourself to one card per sentence, partly because it allows other people to do it. But that's good for a second sentence because those are two very distinct things, both that there's a village and
So this
blind
was a
people.
village that was very unusual. This village was full of blind people.
That's right. I heard some periods there.
Yep.
They were crazy.
Good job.
yeah.
No,
No, you don't have to use crazy.
they don't have to be
It's an
crazy
interrupt.
because that's interrupt any.
Yeah.
Remember that an interrupt card has two uses. You can either use it as a normal card. Think of it as two different cards. You can either use it as a normal card or you can use it as an interrupt card. So you
So
don't
now
have to
we
use
have a
crazy.
village,
It's a
village of blind people, and you're the
And there's the
storyteller.
wolf
Yeah.
there
around with a crown.
with the crown.
Yeah.
Alright.
Yep.
And that place was far, far away
Yes. Good
from
job.
the people. And in one day, that wolf that was living went in the forest.
Okay.
And the forest was so dark place.
Now,
What just happened?
Color. He interrupted by
Okay.
color.
there's your penalty card. Now, you might think that a wolf would be
Carrying a crown.
carrying a crown.
Yes.
A wolf carrying a crown shouldn't be scared in the forest because it is, after all, a wolf.
Well,
But
it's pretty brave for a wolf, right?
I haven't actually said that. I'm just beginning
It
to
has to be brave.
explain.
All right.
I think he was getting there.
Because I might not have been going to explain that he was a
Yeah.
wolf. So since we've
That was eager.
disqualified that, you have to draw up a replacement card for it. The reason the wolf was not afraid, or the wolf was afraid in the forest, with it being big and dark. 'cause
So
that
now
was the
there's
thing.
never going to be brave, of course, anymore.
Well, no, but the reason is that he wasn't really a wolf in the first place.
Oh, explains so
This had been a man who had been, by a curse, turned into a wolf.
Good job. See, you should have grabbed my curse very beginning of the game.
Yeah.
Because that crown was cursed
Yeah,
too.
well, he
I
made
get
it
to
drawn
that
as a
later.
Yeah.
And that man was in the beginning very strong, and that's why he was cursed by the very, very wise wizard.
Okay.
Why the wizard cursed that man was that man, parents, were very, very rich, and they live a long life until they die. And when they die, they died.
He's got time. Yeah, take it back. You got it before.
Nice, you're close.
I don't think that anybody could read that already.
But I'm gonna interrupt yours.
Really?
No, you can't.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Oh, what about your ending's got something about dying, doesn't it, John? No, nobody's dying anymore. Did you guys take your cards when you were interrupted?
But I have a question.
Yes.
Is that possible that he interrupt me when my ending card has died?
Somebody still died though.
What?
Your ending card is alive and well in your hand.
Yeah, but in my ending card, the reef died.
And then you have to make up the story a bit different that somebody else dies in later on.
But I cannot do that because my ending cards, there is that when they died.
There can be more deaths.
There can be more deaths for more
Okay,
people.
but
They don't have to be the exactly same.
So his question is, he's reading his ending card and then he's interrupted.
Oh,
Yeah, and then interrupt because now
I see what you mean.
It's impossible for me to read that when you interrupt me on the ending card.
Yeah, since actually the word died is in the ending card. I think you can't,
I would say in
interrupt
this
the ending.
case,
No.
I am going to let you decide. Would you like the story to go on some more, or would you like to win?
If you're going to win, I'm going for next game.
You should win.
I think you should win and we'll start another game. I think you won. No. I think that you won because because that shouldn't have been interrupted. You were playing. I mean, what really happened is that you played that card down, but you were holding it in your hand and reading it.
I have a better
so that
idea how to play now, so I think that's good.
That was good exercise.
Yeah.
And I did not realize you were reading the card.
Yeah.
So.
That was an unusual ending, right? There was a card and an interrupt and the final card that all had the same result.
That's why I started
no, we got
wondering
more
like that. Okay, how can I play this if someone can interrupt my ending card? Okay. Yeah. That was a nice extra.
So it can go fairly fast, and it can sometimes go very, very low.
Yeah, it just depends on.
Do you expect to sort of remember what happened before?
You need to kind of keep track of what happened before. What I like to do is actually to play out the cards like a storyboard, and then periodically just like, hey, let's stop and recap, and then have the cards as a reminder of what. If it gets to be kind of big.
It seemed like a fixed pause now and then would be good. But I guess part of the game is the speed.
Yeah, when we're playing in the convention hall, and we've got we have chest type bar tables, and then we have the play mat that has spaces for putting it out that are put like that. So we just display the cards like that, and it works as a reminder. Okay, here's the first card. Oh, look at that, Storm. Who feels the most like a storm today, or looks like it?
I think it's the guy who won.
Yeah.
There we go. That's a good point. Go ahead.
Wow.
So I can start the
Yes, whatever you want to do.
Okay. So once upon a time, there was a tower.
Okay.
It was very, very high, and it was guarded by the giant.
Interrupt.
So I find it easy. We put that there, and then we'll stick that under there because that only interrupted. It didn't actually.
Wrong
Change the
card.
story at all.
Wasn't actually an element.
Okay, in the next stage.
Are we good to go?
Yep.
Okay.
So there's Tower Giant.
In the tower guarded by the giant was a beautiful princess. And in a nearby
The
You
princess.
should spare these interrupts until somebody's trying to
This one
win.
doesn't need. We're not likely to have any other.
In the towers of a princess.
I got another ending. So.
What?
And
Okay. How is it that
this is my ending.
I keep trying to move my ending deck away? That's why, because we have all our discards over there.
Oh, yeah.
And the princess always tried to figure out how to escape. She tried a billion different ways to escape. She had done the, I'm going to cut off my hair and climb down it myself trick. She had done the, oh, I'm going to talk to the birds and see if the birds can fly me away trick. She had done the, oh, I'm going to call to that prince wandering around down below and see if he can rescue me. Princes were always dumb and never figured a way out, though.
Hold on.
Right. So you interrupted, and then there's that prince, and Michelle drew a penalty, and there. Now the prince is in the story.
Right, and the prince lived near the tower of the wicked giant. He lived in a quaint little cottage that had been given to him by his dear old mother.
The prince lived there?
Yeah.
He's
slumming.
He's doing what he does, and the giant was forever chasing after the prince. All the giant wanted.
Yep. Go ahead.
Must be interrupted.
Wile E. Coyote the giant.
Oh, that giant wanted was the princess stepmother.
Oh. Fast.
So he's keeping
was-
the princess because he, as a hostage to get to the stepmother.
Yeah. Because the giant was in love with the stepmother.
Ah.
But the prince and the princess were in the way of the giant. Because the doorway to the stepmother in the cottage was too small.
Okay.
And that giant waited and waited until the time passed very long. The giant was brave and wanted.
Is the giant the hero in the story? Is that what's happening here?
And he did many things to get that. Until the giant went to meet Princess father, King, and her Princess mother, the Queen.
Oh,
Finally.
I think it was
And he, along with him, the prince brought him a gift. King and Queen.
Pardon, was the prince or the giant meeting the parents?
Giant.
Yeah. So the giants had a gift.
Okay, giant. Okay. We will look at the giant. Okay.
This is Hagrid.
Hagrid the giant. Brought a gift to the king and queen. But the gift wasn't pleasing, and so they ended up arguing. And
So that's
Challenge.
frozen.
Oh wait.
Wait, hold on.
Are you interrupting? Go ahead.
How did you say?
That was in the right
that's
color.
the different color.
So challenge.
yeah,
So,
please.
Stalling.
Okay,
Okay.
Steve,
So play
Steve,
passes to
Yeah.
Steve.
and you draw
And you draw
card.
a card.
Yeah, he got one already.
All right. So the giant gave a gift, but they didn't accept it. They were arguing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who got the gift?
I'm a little confused on where the stepmother is at in the story
Queen,
now.
Uh,
Or whose stepmother?
the,
Is
It
the
was the
stepmother the queen?
princess
The
stepmother.
princess stepmother.
Yeah, and the giant was meeting
the king and the queen.
princess mother, the queen, the king, and prince mother, the queen.
Yeah.
Who's separate from the stepmother.
Yeah.
Whose stepmother is she?
The princess.
mother is
Oh, the princess's stepmother.
princess.
Who is the queen? Yes.
But there was a door that was too small that she was behind.
Yeah.
Also. Okay.
All right.
Okay, got it straight.
Wow.
well, that's good, Steve.
Right.
Oh, you're mixing it.
And the giant is after the stepmother, right?
Yes.
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 He's in love
It's like
with
the
stepmother,
star-crossed
he's in love
lovers
with the
thing.
stepmother.
Okay. Well, the queen's not going to allow that because she's a witch.
Oh, excellent. One of the things, she being a witch, is that she cooked up a little recipe that was a potion that involved some boiled frogs. And those frogs had poison on them, of course, and she offered it to the prince. The prince ate it up and became totally mad. He's crazy, totally bat crazy. And this is one of his problems why he's never been able to save the princess, is because he is not only not very smart, but also Mooney also. But one day the prince happened upon a monster in the woods, and the monster cured him of his madness, and so the prince's madness was cured. The end.
Alright. Did not come up with any of these.
I do have ended, but I wanted a little bit mixed about the
What was the
story.
ending?
I had like the prince broke the
I had there were two good couples that I could have killed and buried in the same grave, but
Like the giant, the stepmother,
yeah,
queen, and
exactly.
the
Yeah,
You
three.
like
Let me ask you a question. So I had Cauldron. When you played
Yeah.
Cook, could I have interrupted with that, or is that
You
like?
could have made an
You
argument.
could have made an
I would
argument.
have had to, like,
Yeah.
fast
Yeah.
talk in, okay.
And some of it
since
might
it
have
was a
might
witch,
have been.
we
So
might
can
have
we
like.
like
potion in
specify
there.
what did she cook the potion in? Like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
you
sometimes
you would
people
have
ask
to
me
Fishing
some
though, and of
questions.
course I would say, oh, she used a skillet, because I know cauldron is
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
card and would never say
Yeah.
cauldron.
So we can like ask the questions.
Yeah,
Right.
but you can ask leading questions, and then that person will immediately recognize what you're trying to go for, and do the
Yeah,
opposite.
not always, though.
That's how it usually works. But
And sometimes it starts. That would have been an interesting one because it would have come up to a vote as to whether or
Yeah.
not a cauldron was implied in the making of a potion,
since it was
and that
a
might
witch making a
depend
potion,
on whether
that
or
would
not
be-
we all wanted Michelle to shut up and let everybody
Yeah.
else go.
Yeah, I just didn't know how specific it was.
Yeah, and that's really where it comes down to the
And
consensus
I guess
of
the
the group.
answer to that is, whatever the group decides they want to have. Should we mix them all back together again?
Yeah, just making sure that they're not mixed up.
I can take endings over here. Should we try another?
Yeah, we got time for one more.
good.
This is pretty nice game.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You have to really play it trying to build a story and not to win the game
Yeah, it's a
necessarily.
tricky balance. Yeah.
If you're trying to
That's the
lay down your cards as
Yeah.
fast as possible, it's not going to be fun.
There's one.
So it's better to put like 2 or 3 sentences without a card
5
between
cards
each
for
card,
each,
so that there's enough material for a good story.
So if I only have, for example, only have an ending that's not gonna work with the story, when it comes to me, then I just draw a card and pass. Is that right?
Yeah, you can just
You
do
can-
that.
You can pass. If you pass, you can discard one card.
I think that you can choose to discard if you pass voluntarily.
You get to discard
Memory
one
serves.
card.
But if
Yes.
I'm just thinking of the circumstance where all you have is that ending.
that should not happen because
Oh right.
if
no,
you're interrupted, you should have to draw
Draw
another
a card
card.
up. So you should always have one.
Yeah. And if you you can end your story at any time by saying pass, and then you draw one card, and then discard one story card.
I've been playing this game a lot with my friends, and I was developing some interactive cards. Like instead of just being normal interrupts, there has been some cards like interrupt plus change the previous card to the opposite. But like, why, if there be like dying, then something has to be born in your
Gotcha. So one
sentence. Stuff like that.
That could get really surreal. I could see how that would be really fun.
All right. And we should turn one card up to see who looks most like a palace. There's somebody on a boat. There's somebody
We're
on
gonna
a
get
boat. It looks
locations
kind of
for every
Venetian.
single one.
Who here owns a boat? Canoe.
Your parents do, so that means you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's you.
All right. We're closest to that, I guess. That's an obviously false ending. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Once upon a time, in a distant land, there was a brave young woman who had heard of a great treasure.
Well, that treasure. Draw a card.
You didn't even lay a single card.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That
Not yet,
treasure
in 3
was a
games.
sacred book hidden in depths of a castle. And the castle was guarded by a dragon.
It was guarded, you say?
Yep.
By a dragon. Well, clearly the dragon was under a spell. that kept it there, eternally guarding that treasure. And that treasure was sought by a brother and sister. It was a family heirloom that they wanted to retrieve, that had been lost for generations. And they sought it, and they knew that a dragon had it, but they didn't know where to find it.
Stop talking. The treasure was a magical cauldron that was itself a
It was
period.
just stated that it was a book. Sacred book.
Yeah, you contradicted the
If you
earlier
listen
story.
Yeah, I got so eager to get rid of that damn cauldron.
Okay. Oh, so that means plays passes to you,
Okay.
since he was called on a.
Breaking all the rules.
Yep.
So the brother and sister were stuck in a dungeon, and they were held there by a fairy who had magical powers to make things small.
The fairy made all kinds
Good job.
made all kinds of things tiny. Also, the prince and brother and sister were minimized by the fairy spells. The fairy was not friends with the dragon, and she actually wanted somebody to get rid of that damn dragon so she could get the sacred book in the dungeons of the castle. She couldn't do it by herself because she was afraid of fire. If she would get any touch with fire, she would die. So,
You know what? I have no idea where this story is, so I'm gonna just discard and turn to the next person. Is that you
Did
doing?
you draw a new card to replace
No,
it?
because I'm passing.
But you still have to draw as well.
I was talking about fire. I thought you. Okay, alright.
And she did. She took over
Yeah.
because of fire, but then she passed.
Ah,
to him.
alright.
You're right. Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So, what we have now, let's get a recap here. We had a brave girl and the treasure guarded by a dragon, which was under a spell to have to continue to guard the treasure, which we now know is a very powerful book. But it wasn't just the brave girl, it was also a brother and sister, and they were having trouble because of being kept in a dungeon by a fairy who had made them very tiny. And the fairy really herself wants to have the book, just like the girl and the boy, the brother and sister, but she's afraid of fire.
Yeah.
Is that about
And the
it?
fairy and the dragon are not
We're not good friends.
good of it.
They do not like each other.
Yeah.
I thought
And
we
the
forgot.
girl was that sister.
What about the
So
girl
they
in the
have the
beginning? I
book
totally
with them?
forgot about her.
She's has to have been the sister of the brother.
All right.
So it was a family thing.
Yeah.
And they actually have the book with them, or where is it?
No, the book is hidden by the dragon,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
And
But the dragon is a
the dragon
dragon
what?
can't make things tiny. Only
No,
the fairy.
only the fairy can make things tiny. So they're in a tiny
So the
dungeon.
book isn't necessarily in that dungeon, though, or is?
No.
No,
The kids are in the dungeon.
Yeah.
This is all
No.
backstory.
Because
So the plot is about to begin.
As they were looking for the dragon, they got caught by the king.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. This is all very coherent. Don't worry. So the fairy who wanted the book, just like the brother and sister that she had imprisoned in their tiny shape, decided that she needed to turn to someone else for help. And as it happens, she was very good friends with a powerful wolf. And so you might have been surprised that they were buddies, but they were best pals. And,
How many cards are there?
and they just went all over the place together and had...
Except it was,
No! It's a wild card.
and that buddy, of course, was the flea that hung out behind his ear, who whispered things to him, little worm-tongued flea hanging out there. And this is how the
What
book
you're
got to
telling
be
me
so...
is that it was hidden behind his ear.
Yes, it was
Yeah.
hidden behind his ear, John.
Hidden behind his ear, and actually,
But it was not a frog. For sure it was not a frog.
then one day, when the wolf and his best friend the flea were wandering down by the river, lo and behold, a frog with a very big tongue ate damn flea with what flick of its tongue, and the wolf was all alone.
So he's dying?
Oh, it was dying.
Yes.
That's so great.
Yes.
The poor froggy.
Yes, the frog was dying.
Aw.
Now, this was used as an not as
Oh,
a
it's used as
wild
a
card, but as
parent.
what it is. So, I think I might be behind drawing one too from the rest of the interrupted.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
I'm
He's
just waiting
good.
for.
John's getting himself sorted.
So the wolf's by himself because the flea died.
Yeah, and he just lost
Yes.
his little informant
Little
there.
Yeah, his buddy, his cop buddy movie show fellow is gone, and so now he's open to the fairies and treaties to try to get the book back from the
Hey,
dragon.
you're
Okay,
that's
This
a
is
little
a,
bit
just
too
this
much.
is a recap.
Yeah, that wasn't very.
and he sat beneath a tree, dejected, sad, forlorn, when the wicked fairy came to him and said, I can help you with this problem. I know what you seek. Knowing, of course, that what he sought was something that she was protecting. But she's wicked, she's devious. She said, get in this cauldron.
Oh yeah, he's not heard that one before.
And I will cause the legs on this cauldron to come alive.
There we go.
Transforming. Bad. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay, so the fairy was.
Trying to get the wolf
frog
into the
in the
cauldron
Okay,
to
okay.
get it alive.
Which is somehow going to relate to the dragon
Yeah.
and the book
What is this?
and the tiny
That's
brother.
interrupt. Because coming alive
Yes.
is transforming, especially because it grew legs. So like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next. But the wolf knew something was wrong, that it was a trap.
Good job.
So
so the wolf. So the wolf tipped over the cauldron, and the water poured all over the fairy and melted her. She was wicked. I'm melting, I'm melting. So the fairy is dead. And cannot come
Children
back.
going to starve in the dungeon.
So the wolf, of course, had heard about these poor kids in the prison, and the wolf, now that it didn't have this flea whispering in its ear all the time, making it do nasty things, was suddenly a really good wolf. He wanted to help them. And so, especially because he had seen how beautiful the girl was and had decided that he liked helping beautiful little girls. So he went off to the place where the dragon had the book and grabbed the book. Oh no!
So
Oh my gosh, I
He said
can't
it in
believe
the
that
story,
hadn't
so I
played
would
yet.
get my turn someday.
Yeah, he planted that
You're
way
Wow.
long ago
Yeah.
to give
That is
himself
right.
a
So
future
that's
on
interrupt
traps. There you
opportunity.
go.
yeah.
So the wolf went to the dungeon and found the girl and the boy who were starving. They were asking for some food. And the wolf released them and
He rescued them.
Yes, you're right. He did.
No.
That was quick hands there.
Look on the draw.
So the wolf rescued the children, who then told.
Yeah, he did.
What did you play?
I'm interrupting him with the purple interrupt.
you have interrupts somewhere down the
And he
table.
told them that the dragon had hidden it down a well in the dungeon, and that he also said that he had to fight for it. And the children are so happy that they had
Yeah, they were
returned to
so
them what was
happy.
stolen
Oh,
to the
right.
original owner.
Pardon. They were so happy.
That sucks. You suck. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
One more card for
So
me.
the children were so happy when they.
And I should not
can
have
you
walked into that.
recap what was the fighting about? Because
You had to fight the dragon to get the book.
yeah, so they needed to fight the dragon.
vicious.
So they needed to hire their own monster to defeat the dragon. They went to the king and asked, which is the strongest monster in this kingdom? And the king asked,
No, wait.
The
The strongest
The
monster in the kingdom.
king answered, of course, the cursed merfolk is the strongest monster. She can just throw some water bolts.
Where does she live?
No,
She
you don't
lived,
have to answer leading
she
questions.
lived down the river.
What?
That wasn't what you were hoping.
No, it wasn't.
So I'm satisfied.
I was hoping you were going to be devious because I had a swamp I wanted to come in there.
So where are the brother and sister?
They're,
In the dungeon.
the wolf has shown up with
They're riding on the wolf.
Yeah,
And the
going
wolf
for
fought the
that.
dragon.
got the book.
Was giving it to the kids and they were so happy, right?
Right.
Yeah, when they
So the
got
wolf is with the kids who have the book, but they're still, I don't know if they're still
I just
in the
want to
dungeon or
emphasize that these
What
children
way?
are
Where
brave.
is the flea?
not. The flea is dead.
Yeah.
And so is the fairy. Fairy's dead.
Flea died way back there,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
Frog.
That's true.
Yeah.
So the wolf takes the book back to the fairy's dungeon and uses its magic to help the children turn back into normal-sized boys and girls,
Okay.
escaping their imprisonment.
How'd they escape?
He used the magic of the book.
Shush, shush. You don't have to answer those questions.
Just repeating what I said. The magic of the book. And then they decided that they were all going to live happily ever after, except that the boy and the girl did not agree. They thought that the wolf, despite his help, was not part of this. It was their book. It belonged to their family. And they began arguing.
Oh, they had a contest? Did they contest it? Did they contest
It
it?
was very civil,
No.
actually.
They just were arguing.
No, that would be a failure.
Oh, man.
Anyone.
Guys.
They argued, and the boy kills the wolf, and the girl takes the book, and she never let her treasure out of her sight again.
Oh, good.
Try to.
And our time is up. Thank you guys for playing.
Yeah, thank you.
Fun.